Hi, this is Pooja and welcome to Food Without Borders. Today I'm going to show you how to bake these super simple but yet so delicious banana muffins. There are walnuts in them. They are a great snack. You can take it with you wherever you go so that when you get hungry or you have the munchies, you can have these. Ever since we've been on a lockdown, I have made these every weekend for us and we haven't gotten bored. Plus, I've tweaked the recipe to perfection without any processed sugar. So let's get started. So folks, something really sad happened when I was transferring the data from the SD card. I realized that the beginning of the video was corrupted. So I'm going to go through the first two ingredients with you. So you may not see some sound right after this, but then the footage will pick up, okay? So the first ingredient that I added was bananas. Bananas were really ripe. Now the concept of ripe is subjective. For my husband, it's rotten, inedible. For me, it's perfect for making this recipe because it gives it this extra sweetness. So what you're looking for is let your banana sit on the counter for about 4 or 5 days. When you see those dark spots or like a brown peel on it, it's perfect for making this particular banana bread because it adds the extra sweetness. Eggs are 2 large eggs, and now you will see the footage of how it all comes together. Alright folks, you know the drill. We're baking, so we're gonna preheat the oven to a 350 Fahrenheit, and while that preheats and it's ready, at this point you can use a whisk. I'm not because it's kind of a workout, which is worth it. Now let's add some extra sweetness to this recipe. I'm using maple sugar. That's my choice of sweetener. You can use coconut sugar if you want to. You can use regular sugar. Add this in. Whisk this as well. I'm going to whisk this until the sugar dissolves. Maple sugar does not take a long time, but regular sugar might. And this might be a little more cumbersome process for you. And if you feel like your hand is getting tired, you can get your electric mixer out or use a whisk. This is dissolved beautifully for me, so fork still works. I'm going to add vanilla extract. And now I'm going to add some ground cinnamon. Now ground cinnamon is an optional ingredient. You can just go with some vanilla extract. I just love the flavor of ground cinnamon in this particular banana bread, so I'm gonna add that. Whisk this in. Final wet ingredient here is some oil. I'm using sunflower oil. That is my choice. You can use avocado or any odorless oil of your choice. Now, to get the oil completely emulsify with this batter, I am going to resort to a whisk. Whisk this until the oil is completely mixed. Now let's talk about our dry ingredients here. I'm using a combination of two. One is Ain corn flour. Now Ain corn flour is a kind of wheat. It's an ancient grain and it has not been hybridized. So I seem to tolerate it better. I have a mild sensitivity to wheat gluten, which is the newer version, the hybridized version, but I seem to tolerate this really well, which is not good news. And the second ingredient is quick oats. Quick oats just gives it the perfect texture. I like a rustic muffin, so the oats does the rusticy feel to it with the texture. So I'm gonna add some baking soda and salt to it. With a spoon, I'm going to give this a mix. Add a teaspoon or roughly a teaspoon of this into my dry nuts and raisins and set this aside. I'm going to add this to the wet ingredients. Give this a whisk until, it all combines into a smooth batter. I'm going to switch to a spatula here, just to scrape the bottom of the pan so that all the batter is nicely mixed. So now let's talk about the dry fruits. Now I have a combination of raisins and walnuts. Walnuts give it the crunch, raisin gives it an extra sweetness, it gets plumpy, it just tastes amazing in this. You can choose any other dry fruit. You can use cranberries, you can chop some apricots. That's completely your choice. Or nuts, you can use pecans instead of walnuts. Or skip everything altogether. Now, why I added some flour to this is because what that does is it adheres to the nuts, and when it does adhere to the nuts won't sink to the bottom of the pan and then eventually burn, and that wouldn't be fun. You want them to be equally distributed in your muffin, right? So I'm gonna mix this and then add this to the batter. Fold this in. This is done. I'm gonna quickly clean up this mess, load this in the dishwasher, and I'll be back. I have a cupcake tray, and I'm using the kind that is non-stick because 2021 and 2020, I made the decision that I am going to make an effort in creating less waste. So I got this non-stick pan because I wanted to not use cupcake wrappers, because the amount of muffins that we make, the amount of baking that we do in these pans, we use a lot of those wrappers. I am going to grease it with some non-stick spray here. And I am generous because I don't want to take chances with this sticking. Usually it doesn't, but on the camera, who knows? I'm going to use a pastry brush to get all the crevices so it's nicely greased up. If you're using a cupcake wrapper, you will skip this step because you don't want the outside of your cupcake wrapper all greasy. Alright folks, now that our baking pan is nicely prepped, I'm going to fill this in 3/4 of the way with a cookie scoop or a ice cream scoop. This is for equal distribution. So folks, these are ready to go into the preheated oven. I did not fill them to the brim because these will rise and they will spread. And when they spread, imagine all of them spreading and them sticking to each other. That would be a mess, and you don't want them to look like a mess. You want them to be pretty. So I'm gonna stick this into the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. And then when I come back, I'll show you what it looks like. I am back and let's do the tasting. I can hardly wait. Now these baked for 20 minutes, depending on your oven. Now the way you see if it's baked is stick a toothpick in. If it comes out clean, right in the middle, you know it's done. I let it sit on the counter for about 30 to 35 minutes. Now I have to do that because I am baking them without a liner. So if I go and start fiddling with it, it will just break and it'll just crumble. Now if you have your cupcake liners, you don't have to worry about it. Just pull them out, just let them sit with the liner for 30 minutes or have it warm. It's up to you. I'm going to dislodge one of these and say a little prayer when I do that because it's always a little hard. Oh gosh, yeah. Look at this. Isn't this just beautiful? I don't know. I have no other word to describe it. It's so soft and spongy. It really is. Let's cut into it. It is just moist, spongy. I don't know, man. If this is not good enough for you, you have really high expectations from me. Perfectly sweet. The raisins make it really, really sweet. It has that crunchy-ish texture because of the oatmeal and the walnuts. You guys have to give this recipe a try. It's amazing, it's easy. You saw me, I did not use any tools to make this. Just a good old spatula and a whisk and mostly the fork. Now, please subscribe if you haven't. The written version of this recipe is on my blog and a link to it will be in the description box so you know where to find it. Hit subscribe if you haven't and I will see you next time. Until then, bye. I just live dangerously and this is a non-stick pan, but non-stick really may not be non-stick. God, give me strength.